What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at a product from Olight known as the Marauder 2 flashlight. Let's get started. Alright, so here we have the Marauder 2 flashlight from Olight, and I'm going to throw some of these images up on the screen so you guys can follow through with the initial read through the package, because there is a lot of information on the outside, and I feel we should probably start with the lumens and the duration and just a few bits of information on the outside of the box. So like I said, you could read along with me. Feel free to pause the video if you want to read this by yourself. Let's just get right into it. So, right off the bat, it is 14,000 lumens at peak. Okay, so there are different stages. We have level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. We have 7 stages of power from what I see here. So level 1 is 200 lumens. Level 2 goes to 400, and then 800, 1600, 3200, 6400, all the way to level 7, which is 14,000 lumens. That's a lot of power and a lot of settings. Now for level 1, we have 40-hour runtime, and then level 2 goes to 22 hours, level 3 is 13 hours, level 4 is 7 hours and 30 minutes, level 5, 4 hours and 30 minutes, level 6 is 3 hours and 15 minutes, and level 7 is 3 hours and 10 minutes. Now, I have a feeling there's going to be a step down stage in there, because there's no way you're going to run 14,000 lumens for 3 hours and 10 minutes constant, but we're going to learn about that together once we get into it. And then for the distance of the beam at level 1 all the way to level 7, we go 55 meters, 75 meters, 110, 155, 215, 300, and 450 meters at its full brightness. That sounds pretty interesting. The weight of this is coming in at 750 grams, which is 26.5 ounces. The dimensions, the length is 5.51 inches. The diameter is 3.11 inches. It has a waterproof rating of IPX8. It has a drop resistance of 1 meter. Well, let's get inside of the package and see how they like to box up their items, because I know from past products, Olight has very, very good presentation. Let's have a look. Alright, so having a look at the top of the box, we've got Olight Marauder 2, max 14,000 lumens, throw of 800 meters. You get a pretty decent look at the product inside. The packaging to this is very interesting, because the side opens up. It is closed with 2 magnets, so you do have to pry it open and then open it up. Over here we have a nice little letter from them saying, "Thank you for joining the Olight family. Do it all with your new Marauder 2." So that's pretty awesome. They have a nice little personalized message in there. We have a little bit of instructions here, which I'm going to pass that, and we'll just read this together a little later on or figure it out for ourselves. But here we do have a nice little plastic tray. It says open. We'll kind of pry this up. And this is what I'm talking about with Olight having excellent presentation. This looks incredible. So they have a little piece of ribbon right here. I pull that up, the light comes out. We'll set that off to the side for now. We then have a little box. Now, I was peeking in this earlier on, but I did not take anything out and leave it out, so I put everything back in here. Right away, we do have... Okay, so this is a charging block. I actually did not look at this earlier. So it looks like it is a PD output, so a USB-C out. Little flip wall charger there, so that's definitely going to be useful. We then have a little lanyard here, which is adjustable. We then have a charge cable. And this is awesome how they do this. So they have these little plastic ends that they put on top of their cables, and this is what I'm talking about, presentation. And we have a little cable tie here that's reusable. So it just comes down to all these small little details that are always interesting to see how much effort companies put into packaging their items. So pretty awesome. Just a standard cable, but the way it's packaged in there is really neat. And then we've got an instruction booklet. All right, so far, looking at everything here, the presentation seems to be good. So I believe that is everything in the box. Make sure we're not throwing anything away here. Like I mentioned earlier, I did kind of open it up and take a peek in there, but as far as using it and functioning with it, I haven't done it yet. I did fully charge it though, so it is fully charged right now. Looking at this piece of plastic, there are a couple of instructions here, so I see something that looks rather interesting right off the bat. Let's have a look at that right now. We'll set that off to the side. There is protective plastic on there, and that looks pretty interesting. That's a lot of LEDs, guys. 14,000 lumens is definitely going to be extremely bright. I will say, it's definitely hefty, so it's not something that I would really think that would be good for hiking unless you're in law enforcement or maybe search and rescue. This would probably be a decent piece of kit as long as it performs well, but it is hefty, so I don't think anyone's going to really want to hike with this in their backpack. It's got some heft to it. And from what I understand, this is also a battery bank as well, so it's both an input and an output. So it holding that much juice, you can charge a phone with it, which is kind of interesting. So, having a look at some of these controls, they look a little confusing. I'm just going to glance at the instructions just for a second, because there is something that, okay. All right, so there is a lockout feature in here. And just reading here, it actually seems pretty simple. So Olight products are known for the lockout features. This one does have a lockout, and it actually seems pretty easy. Before I turn it on, I do want to throw a picture of this up on the screen, because earlier when I was mentioning that there's going to be a step down in power, there is a image right here. I'm not going to talk about it too much, but I'm going to put the image up on the screen. You guys can go ahead and press pause. It basically shows at what power level it'll run for, and then where it'll step down to a lower power, because if it ran at turbo 14,000 lumens for too long, it would burn itself out, damaging the product. So I'll read this top one off to you. It does say level 7, 14,000 lumens. At 100%, it'll run for 5 minutes, and then it'll step down to 23% for 140 minutes, and then it'll step down again to 11% power for 45 minutes. So there is a little bit of a step down curve. I'll put the image up on the screen so you guys can study that for yourself. But I do see something really interesting here. So pressing the button, it does not turn on. Did it turn on? No, it didn't. But the LED rings, there are little LED lights on here, and they go all the way around. So what I understand is if you spin the dial to wake up the light, and then press, it comes on. And then we can control the power, oh my goodness, by dialing it. So there's a little dial feature here. That's pretty cool. So one side, the dial shows you your power, or your brightness, and then the other side shows the battery life. That's pretty cool. All right, bring you guys in a little closer to have a look at some of this. All right, so looking at the light, here's this little feature. So to wake up the light, you need to dial it, and these lights will come on, and basically press, and then the light comes on. So you see the beam is on right now, and if you wake up the dial, you'll see this side is battery life, so those lights light up, and then they disappear after a second to save power. But if you wake up the dial again, you'll notice on the left side, it increasing in brightness, very, very, very bright. And then we can bring it back down. So these are the 7 levels of power. Number 1 being very low, so you guys can see the lights on. And then ramping right up the turbo to 14,000 lumens is just completely overexposing my image right here. There is also a little switch right here that I'm noticing. It is for spot or flood. So when you turn it on flood, the outer ring lights come on. If you put it on spot, there is an inner light, and then you can dial up the power. And you guys can see the difference right now. So right now we're at level, let's bring it right up. Level 7, that's on spot. That's on flood. Back to spot. So that's where you're getting your distance in your throw. The charge port for this flashlight appears to be on the bottom, and there is this little dial here. If we dial it, it opens up like an iris, much like a camera lens actually. And there's your USB-C charge port. It's very, very smooth. So we'll lock that down. And then we do have a little hidden lanyard. It's kind of difficult for me to get my hand in there, but this little guy pops up and you can put your lanyard through the hole, and when you're not using it, it simply folds back down inside the flashlight body. All right, so the light is very interesting, I will say that. Giving you guys a look at the front, I mean, there is a gigantic bulbous light hiding inside of there, just the center light, so that is a very large spot. And then of course everything around it is a flood, and it's got this pretty interesting anodized blue kind of bezel tactical ring to it, which is very interesting in itself. It looks like a decent light. It's solid. It's very well built from what I can tell. That ring is damped very nice to hide that charge port. everything looks pretty decent with it, guys. I'm going to roll some nighttime footage right now of me using this. I'm going to go through the power settings, starting on the lowest all the way up to the highest, and I'll switch it from spot to flood so you guys can see how it performs. While I'm running that footage, I'm going to read some of this off to you guys right here. So USB-C cable, the compatible protocol is QC 2.0, QC 3.0, PD 2.0, PD 3.0, Apple. So those are the cables that are compatible. The voltage is 5 volt 3 amp, 9 volt 3 amp, 12 volt 2.5 amp, 15 volt 2 amp, 20 volt 1.5 amp. So that is the voltage current charging, and the voltage and the current of reverse charging. So using it as a battery bank, its output will be 5 volt 3 amp, 9 volt 3 amp, 12 volt 2.5 amp, 15 volt 2 amp, 20 volt 1.5 amp. So that'll give you some information on both inputting and outputting. Indication of charging: solid red is charging, solid green is charging complete. Indication of reverse charging: so when using it as a battery bank, there will be a flashing green light letting you know that you are charging. And time to fully charge using a PD 30 watt plug is 2.5 hours. So that is rather interesting. Now that you guys seen some of the footage there using it in the dark, I guess we could wrap this up and basically see what you guys think. So I'm going to add the lanyard here real quick. So it does go in through the hole. Now this is going to be a little tricky. I'm probably going to need a pen or some kind of, you know what, I'm going to leave it off. It does come with a nice little lanyard. You do need something to kind of poke it through there. I don't think I would use the lanyard for this style of light. I think I would most likely just kind of tuck it inside of a bag or a pocket. I think it would work really well for a van life build. So like right here, if I'm in my bus or if I'm in my truck and you need a really powerful light, I think it would work really good for that. With everything you need, like I said, guys, I can't give you my opinion, but I can ask for yours. What do you guys think? Do you think this is a decent product? Are there any ways that Olight could improve it or maybe take away from it to simplify it? What do you guys think? Let me know down in the comment section. What do you guys think of the Olight Marauder 2 flashlight? And I'll be checking those comments. So thanks a lot, guys, for joining me. Catch you in the next video.